Well, I guess we can. Hello and welcome to the HubZone Small Business Summit. We are to mark day number 14 of the HubZone Summit, and we have a great presentation for you guys today. I know that we were going to have some attendees trickling in. So just in the beginning, I want to give a little bit of information about how this is all going to work. Today, we have an amazing presenter, Hernani Alves from Balanced IQ. He is the CEO. I'm super excited about today's presentation. And prior to the discussion, he explained to me that he is a very interactive presenter and he really wants the attendees to be engaged. So if you would like to speak, feel free, leverage the Q&A component, and maybe even towards the end, I offered to him if we want to elevate individuals to host and panelist settings, that's fine. He wants to make sure that you get the most out of this session and take full opportunity of having him here with us today. He does have quite a bit of time that he can share with us. So this is being recorded, but if we kind of go off on a different dialogue and we want to clip it later, because if we get a little bit more personal and everything like that, that's fine. So don't worry, guys. Make sure you take full advantage of this opportunity. And with that, I will pass it over. I do know that we're starting a little bit early, so I don't want anybody to miss anything because I know that more individuals will be trickling in. Because Hernani, I do have the settings in the system set to where they have to wait until that time frame to come in, which I'm kind of a little bit regretting. I feel like I should probably remove that. But with that said, I will stop talking so he can get started. And if any of you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat and we will go ahead and get moving forward.
Excellent. How many of you would love to learn one new skill that helped you achieve nearly 100% of your results? And once you actually learn that new skill, it'll actually save you time on your schedule. Who's in? Who wouldn't want to learn that new skill? How important do you feel accountability is in the workplace? And that's on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being it's not needed, 3 it's average, 5 being very important. And when I do this and I've presented for groups up to 5,000 people, I normally get 5 fingers or I'll get like 2 hands here going. It's super important. In a recent study conducted by the American Management Institute, they asked over 5,000 business executives and leaders. They asked them, how important do you feel accountability is in the workplace? And the shocking number, as you can see there, 3% said that it was extremely important and that we actually had it, where 97% of organizations did not have a good accountability program. And when that happens, you're not going to have a high performing culture. You're going to have a culture that is struggling, that isn't doing well, that people are probably looking at Indeed, looking for ways to get out of the organization. And then they ask them, well, what is it? Why is it such a challenge when it comes to accountability? And the response is, keep in mind, these are like Fortune 500 business executives, leaders, entrepreneurs. Their response was, I've never been trained. They've never been trained on accountability in leadership. All they've gotten is the information that they've seen from their peers, from their mentors, and that's how they're acting. So then they asked them, so what is accountability? And most of them said the carrot and the stick. You've probably heard of this analogy. Let me tell you, it is the worst form of accountability, the carrot and the stick. And you're thinking, well, it works. It does short term. So let's just go back in the day when it really worked, right? So way before our time, the farmer wakes up in the morning, he goes out into the garden, rips out a carrot, ties it to a stick, he grabs his mule out of the corral, and then goes out to the field. And does that motivate the mule to plow the field? Yes, it does. I mean, there's a carrot there, the mule is hungry, it wants it. But after a while of going up and down these rows, the mule realizes, I'm not getting any closer to the carrot. So it begins to slack off. And when it begins to slack off, the farmer begins to bring the carrot directly to them, something that's a little closer, and that motivates the mule to go. But then there's a point where it just shuts down, and guess what? The farmer gives it the carrot. Now the mule's happy. What happens is that cycle keeps getting shorter and shorter. The farmer goes, grabs another carrot. The mule knows when it slacks off, it gets its carrot faster. And that's the process. And then eventually, yeah, the whip comes out, the stick. Does that motivate the mule to plow the field? Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't? If you're getting beat, that would motivate you to go do it, but it's temporary. And that's what happens to the mule. They just shut down after a while going, I'm not working for this farmer anymore. I'm out. And then eventually the farmer has to replace that mule. And that really happens in so many organizations. They go through this cycle of so many carrots and they're not getting the results that they want to get. And they many times get so frustrated. The other one is that some organizations will swing the pendulum. They swing the pendulum over to, you know what? Our people are doing great. Sales is great. Let's just have no accountability. And you're thinking, well, that's great. And I'd love to work for an organization like that. Most people think they would, but then they wouldn't. I mean, do you like it if someone doesn't read your email, doesn't follow up with you, that has no accountability standards? Even HR doesn't get your checks out on time. And who doesn't want to get their checks and get paid on time? That's an organization without accountability. But then they swing the pendulum again, and now it's too extreme. Now they go into, you can't do anything. Everything has to be approved. You can't, it feels like you're being suffocated because you're just, the organization's on top of you all the time. And at the end of the day, what you're looking for is something that's a little bit more balanced accountability. And that's where balanced accountability comes into. So I worked for an amazing company. I started off as a part-time employee, eventually grew to become the company president. When we left, we were doing north of 3.5 billion. That's with a B, over 15,000 employees. And when I left, because we went through an acquisition, it was asked, can you come and work in an organization? Because we want to have that accountability that you guys had in your organization. Many times we won the best workplace award. So balanced accountability blossomed, and here it is. It became a national bestseller in multiple categories. And I've been able to work with some amazing organizations out there. And it's just been awesome to see that when it comes down to it, people want accountability. So many entrepreneurs and business owners are so concerned about their young millennials. They're like, you can't give them accountability. That's further from the truth. They want it. They want to make sure a company has a purpose. Why does it exist? And then it wants to know its values, how it works. They're very transparent. They are looking and they embrace accountability when it's said and done at it, where it's balanced. So wanted to share a story here, or a testimonial of a helicopter company that I worked with. I don't know anything about helicopters besides that they're cool. I've never even flown in a helicopter, but I had a chance to work with some mechanics and pilots in the organization, and it was awesome. So I'm going to share you a quick little video here from them.
Some of the problems that Balanced Accountability has addressed have been breaking down barriers between departments, improving on the communication, and also helping to hold the managers accountable for their own actions.
I'd have to say that Balanced Accountability has definitely opened up a lot of opportunities for other people's ideas to be heard company-wide.
I think before there was a lot of people that just came to work and went home, and I think now they're a lot more vested in the ideas and the culture of the company.
And across the board, the whole company is on board and going the same direction. Our energy is spent in the same direction.
Where it seemed so divided before. Just between departments, especially like communication and having a common goal. Like if we fail together. And if we win together.
Our mission was to provide exceptional service that the industry is kind of lacking. Didn't really until recently, the help of some tools and ideas with Hernani, actually define it. We'd had a tremendous amount of growth, a tremendous amount of talent on the team, and then being able to try to bring that together into a group with a solid foundation so that you can kind of take your business to the next level.
And now that we've drawn it all together, it's definitely united and bonded us stronger. That's very, very rewarding.
Almost a smile coming with your service at this point, in just coworker to coworker even. It's really made a huge difference here. We're getting things done a lot more efficient.
And I think bringing balanced accountability took us to the next level. I've loved working with Hernani. I'm so grateful. It's changed me forever, professionally, personally, and I think it's left a big imprint on our company.
Working with Hernani has been a lot of fun. He's very energetic. He is very passionate about what he does and about helping people and helping companies and businesses grow, and just really encouraging people and the businesses to become the best that they can.
You know, like anybody that you're bringing in, initially maybe a little skeptical, but he's surpassed my expectations as far as the knowledge, the tools, and the relationship that we've developed with him. The biggest thing that I've witnessed is kind of a change in culture. I think has brought our team together. I mean, at the end of the day, to build the business and to give it some real foundation.
So there's balance accountability in a helicopter organization that they work internationally with these different helicopters. And we worked with all these different people in satellite locations and brought them together. Some of it was virtually, some of it they did make an investment, brought them all together. And we went through it, and they had to expand it so quickly that they had felt like they had lost some of the magic that the organization had. And that's where we came up when we created their purpose and their vision and their values. From there, we got the team together, and they embraced it so much that they are taking off. Their business has nearly doubled since working with them. The key thing when we came out of there, I always knew balanced accountability maximized performance, because working with multiple organizations, that's normally the outcome, normally double-digit increases. The key thing here, the biggest takeaway, was it improved communication. And I actually didn't see accountability doing that early on, but it does. People were held more accountable, where they won hearts. Sometimes you'd get some tough love, but it really got them to collaborate and speak together, different departments, and they were focused on one goal. And once that happens, that's where the magic starts happening and they begin to take off. So if we were here together, I would be asking you some questions. We'd be doing a breakout group, but this is a good one I'm going to give you. You can do at your next meeting. If you haven't done this with your team, is ask them, if you really knew me, you would know that. Share something with them that they may not know about you. This is where you become more vulnerable to them. I'll share something with you really quick for me. One is I don't like scary movies at all. I do not like them. It scares me, of course. But when we're talking scary movies, you're probably thinking like Freddy Krueger, like the real bad ones. No. Scary movies to me is like Wizard of Oz. Anything with witches or whatever, I'm out. So that's a scary movie. So if you really knew me, you would know that I do not like Wizard of Oz type movies at all. So, but it's a good little fun you could do with your group at your next meeting, even virtually. So what you need to do is get the organization pointed north. And if we were to ask your team where north is, do they know where it's at? So what you want to think of like this, you kind of ask your team to close their eyes, put their hands up in the air, and point north. And you'll see that most of them are going to point in different directions because they really don't know where north is. They will, and that many times happens with accountability or where the company is headed. You're chasing too many rabbits or different things. So this gets the team aligned to point north. And then I would share with them where north is directly in front of you. So now go ahead and close your eyes and point north, and you'll see they will be able to point directly where they're at because now they're aligned. Everybody knows where we're headed. And that's what's so important within organizations, especially when it comes to accountability in the workplace. So balanced accountability, high level. I'm going to give you, normally do a full day workshop on this, and there's some follow-up, but I'm going to give you some high level things today. It's based on the 3 Ps, and it starts with personal accountability. Who's that? You. Starts with the most important person in your life, which is you. I know sometimes when I say that, people think of, they may think of a wife or a spouse or a child or a parent, but no, you can't take care of those important people unless you take care of yourself first. So accountability starts with you first. And I'm going to share some stories on that of how it affected me early on. Second P is positive accountability. This is where the magic happens. Most people think accountability is negative. Actually, that survey we did at the beginning, over 90% of people thought accountability is super negative, that it's not healthy in an organization, which couldn't be further from the truth. Once you magnify the positive, that's where you get the results you've been wanting. And then the third one is performance-based. When people go to my book, you know, right here, they'll grab it and then they kind of they look at the table of contents and they'll go, whoa, 18 chapters, that's a lot. And then they kind of look and they see, oh, performance accountability. And they want to go straight to that. And performance accountability is towards the end because the first part of it is focused on personal and positive. They want to go straight to performance. And you can do that. But I can tell you, it's going to be short term. And I'm going to share a story of somebody that did that and didn't get the results until they really got into personal and positive accountability. Working with the recent CEO, she shared with me, for years, I've been trying to get accountability in our workplace. And you come into my I was working with her. I come to our organization, and her team now loves accountability. She goes, not sure how you did it, but did you know that there's a fourth P in 3 P's of accountability? I go, there's no fourth P. I wrote the book, doesn't exist. And she goes, when you do these 3 P's, personal, positive, and performance-based, you get peer-to-peer accountability. And that is true. And it's something that's not in the book, but now it will be updated to be able to share that story where the teams really start to come together, hold each other accountable. And that's where they really start getting some of that traction. So I wanted to take a moment here, Michelle, since you're there, just kind of getting into it here. Is there any questions or anything that has come up yet from the group through the chat or anything?
No, I'm not seeing any. Like, bear with me one moment. No, I'm not seeing any. Honestly, I like your energy. I feel like I wish I could bottle some of that up and pass it over. No,
Awesome.
but no, it's actually, you're a very charismatic speaker. I've never been able to listen to you before. So keep it coming, but we don't have any questions yet. I feel like everybody's just kind of enjoying the show. You really are kind of a good show.
Gonna get better, and I'm gonna get more personal. So hopefully the group's
Really?
okay with that.
Well, good. I'm totally fine with that. I could use some of this, this positive energy right now. Today is not going well for me. So keep it coming.
Got it.
Thanks.
So I had the worst nickname ever. My name's Hernani. It's an African name. I was born in Angola, Africa, 3rd generation. Portuguese is my first language. English is my second. Really didn't learn English until I was 8. So you can see Hernani is one of those names you can have some fun with. But if you go to Portugal, you go to Angola, or you go to Brazil, you'll meet more Hernanis. It's more of a common name. There was a famous singer, and that's kind of where I got the name. I can't sing, but I had this horrible nickname when I first started off as a leader, and it was the worst name ever. So I'm going to share the quick story of how that happened. So I was started part-time for this company in California. It was called Sleep Train. It was a furniture company. And doing well. I was getting the sales, moving up. I was only going to do it for 6 months because I didn't go to school to work for a furniture company. So it was going to be part-time, but I fell in love with the people, fell in love with the team. And there was a manager position that opened up in Stockton, California. Some of you may know where Stockton is. There's a good side of Stockton. There's a bad side of Stockton. Well, this store was in the bad side. I applied for the job. And normally you got to be with the company for like 5 years before you can even apply. So it's only been like 6 months for me. So I'm still a rookie. I applied and I got the job, nailed it. So I was shocked. I remember asking the person that interviewed me, like, wow, how many people applied for this job? He goes, nobody. You're the only one that applied. So congratulations. So I got this by default. No one else applied. I had no idea that this store was about to close. It was on the closed list. It just didn't do very good volume. The people there hated it so much they labeled the store the cemetery store. This is where your career went to die. Here I am coming in, having no idea. And in the 3rd month, we tripled the store's business, tripled it. So the store is still open to this day. And you're like, well, what'd you do? Did you get new advertising? Did you get new products? What was it? What did well? No, I didn't. No advertising because the store was going to close. So they were going to invest into it. We wouldn't get any new products because they couldn't sell it. So it was the exact same stuff. But what changed was the people. Instead of like looking at a customer walking through the door as like, they're here to waste my time, we flipped the script and we looked at it as we're here to help them fall in love with sleep again, because that's what we mostly sold, was sleep products. And once we helped those consumers fall in love with sleep again, we noticed that they were buying because we created the value, and we did extremely well. So 3 months into it, my district manager that hired me comes back out, takes me to lunch, And I can tell it was one of those awkward lunches. It wasn't going to be one of those lunches where he was going to praise me. I just could tell it was not good. He goes, Hernani, do you know your team doesn't want to work with you? Like, what? Doesn't want to work? Okay, I'm about 23 years old at this point. And I was pretty cocky. I was like, there's no way that they don't want to work with me. I'm like, why wouldn't they want to work with me? They're making more money they've ever made before. They're making sales. I mean, how could they not be happy? And he goes, Hernani, do you know what your nickname is? And I go, nickname? He goes, yeah, your nickname is Her Nazi. Her Nazi. That was the nickname my staff had given me, because that's like the worst thing you could ever call someone. And I was devastated. I was at that point. I had a couple of days off. I went through a lot of emotions. I was having my own little PD party. What I really wanted to do was quit. I was like, I'm not going to work for this company. I didn't even want to see my staff again. I was so upset. But finally got over it. I'm like, okay, what am I truly doing here? And I went to them. It was a Saturday morning. We had brought them donuts. Here I am. I was like, I got to make up for them. And I asked the team here, what can I do more of as your leader? Apparently I failed. You're not happy working with me. What can I do more of? And I did the most important thing that leaders need to do, is they need to listen. Many times leaders will talk, and they won't listen. And this is why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we talk. That was my first valuable lesson of being able to, okay, these are things I need to do more of. And then I asked them, okay, what do I need to do less of? And they gave me a list. So I got that information. I started winning their hearts because I was listening. But the most important thing that happened there is I started showing them the proof that I was taking steps. I was micromanaging too much. I was a manager. I was all over them. I was like a seagull manager. I don't know if you ever heard of a seagull manager. A seagull manager flies around, sees a problem, jumps in there, gets everybody all flustered up, and then takes off. But on the way out, it poops. That's what seagulls do. Kind of flies around, sees a problem, jumps in there and takes. And that's what I was doing a lot of. And I wasn't making people excited to see me. Many times they wanted to run. So it was such a valuable lesson to me that I learned from that group. And they actually, a year later, ended up giving me the Best Leadership Award for them. And it's one of the awards that I cherish to this day. So I'm so grateful for that. So grateful for my manager giving me some tough love and letting me know that they don't want to work with me and my nickname. So that's where tough love comes in to play. So that is one of my biggest failures I had as a leader. However, you could say it wasn't a failure. It was because I learned so much from it that I was able to take that throughout my career and make sure I'm a better listener. I always get the question is, so how are you so passionate about accountability? I mean, it's a naughty word. Most organizations don't want to talk about it. They want to stay away from it, or someone's getting fired. How come you're so passionate about it? And I always do this self-reflection. I'm like, why am I so passionate? So here's when we migrated from Africa, my dad's an entrepreneur. So he started a fish market. From the fish market, he started a dairy. And when you work on a dairy, I was 9 years old, everybody has to work. You have to do something. And my job was to get off the school bus and go and relieve and milk the cows and relieve my dad so he could go feed the cows. And then we would connect for dinner. Well, this one day I get there, there's about 4 cows left in the holding pen, but one of them is cow number one. And she's like a sacred cow. She was the very first cow that was born on our dairy. So that means she had now grown up, she had calved herself, and it's time to milk her. But when a cow first goes into a dairy, goes into the milking parlor, they get like a little weirded out. There's all these machines, noise. They're just like, they don't want to have anything to do with it. So you really have to get in there, work, get them in there, and try to put the machine on them to milk them. I got her there. I cleaned her udder. I was trying to put the machine on and she's kicking. So keep in mind, I'm about 75 pounds. Cow number one is at that point, she's probably 1,500 to 2,000 pounds. So she's got a pretty big advantage. I tried to put the machine on again. She kicked me, like kind of scratched me with her hoof. And I'm like, forget this. I'm going to take it out. I'm not going to milk her. I'm going to let her go. And at this point I was done. I had about 10 minutes of cleaning up, and then I get to go inside and have a nice warm dinner. Right towards the end of that cleaning up, all of a sudden behind me, the gate opens up, or like I can hear the chain and the gate opens. I'm like, well, how did that happen? How'd the gate open? And I keep looking. All of a sudden, this frantic cow runs in, which is cow number 1. I was like, wow, how did she get in? And all of a sudden, I hear the footsteps walking through the cow manure towards me. And you know what those footsteps were? Those were my dad's footsteps. And at that point, I knew I was in trouble. At that point, I was thinking, should I run away? But my dad was just always fast. He would always catch me. And I just stood there and I had the biggest beating I've ever gotten. My dad gave me a firm beating so much I peed my pants. I was scared. At that point, I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't need the milk cow number 1 now. I got this bad beating. I get to go home and have dinner. And I took a couple steps towards the house, and my dad picked me up from behind my collar, turned me around and says, go finish what you started and do it right this time. Ooh, I know. Go finish what you started and do it right this time. I still get goosebumps when I hear that. That was tough. And I knew how to do it right. My dad had taught me how to do it right, but I cut corners. So I didn't go and do that. Well, now to do it right, I know there's a mechanism. You put it over their hips. It takes like 2 minutes. They can't kick you. You put the machine on. Now they feel comfortable. They eat their grain, and I'm done. If I would have done it right. So at that point, my dad taught me a very valuable lesson. You're thinking, well, he probably was a little aggressive. I don't want you guys to judge my dad. Keep in mind, this is way before timeout was ever invented. I know now we have timeout. Back then, we would get a firm spanking. And I'm sure some of you here have probably gotten a pretty firm spanking. But why is that? Why did we get that punishment?
Because it worked.
Because it worked. There you go. That's true. Because it worked. We got that firm spanking because it did work, but it's also out of love. If you really think about why was my dad holding me accountable? Because he wanted me to become greater than myself. And that's what we do as leaders, is we help other people become greater than themselves. And sometimes you need to give them tough love. And I know if we had time here, I'd go around and ask each one of you, who held you accountable to a higher standard? Who held you to that point to where you did not like them at the time? Maybe you hated him. I hated my dad for years until I realized that he was doing this for my benefit. And I'm so grateful he did, because it has really helped me throughout my life and my career. There might have been a coach, a teacher. So, and I'm going to ask you, Michelle, since you're here with me, how about you? Who was that one person that maybe held you to a higher standard?
Well, that one person is actually on this call, because I'm not sure if she's going to be able to tune in, because I know she called from the car, but my mom, technically, and it was because I grew up in government contracting. So it was actually that the Hub Zone was my first job. Here, I'll go on video. So when I was like 21, I've been really sick most of my life, and my mom goes, hey, you're going to come here. And she started me off on the contract for the Hub Zone program as a help desk representative. And I, worked and actually closed out the contract as the PM, not because they wanted me to do it, but because the PM did, because they're constantly trying to, prove that I'm capable of doing this stuff. And she'd always put me in different things. Oh, I want you to try in accounting. I want you to try in this. And me, I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, oh my gosh, can I just do one thing? And she goes, well, no, this is how you get well-rounded. This is how you're able to learn from it. And I can assure you, she was about 10 times harder on me than anybody other than employees. But I guess that's probably the reason why I am here today, is because they didn't allow me to give up, even though I want to so many times, today included, very much want to. So yeah, but I get it.
That's made you stronger. That's leadership.
It has that, or borderline curious if I'm going to have a heart attack at some point in time, but but yeah, it definitely made me stronger. And otherwise I wouldn't be able to overcome a lot of these obstacles. So it was tough love, but it was much needed.
Excellent. I hope she is here where she had a chance to hear you, because that's so valuable. So it's great. Thank you for sharing. That's outstanding. And I know if we went around the room, there'd be so many of you. Feel free to put it in the chat. And it could be someone that maybe they're no longer here. I had an opportunity to do that with my parents before it became too late. I was able to give them the best parent award and let them know all the things that they did, holding me accountable. Because as a parent, it sucks. I have 2 kids myself. I sometimes maybe I shouldn't hold my kid accountable. Maybe I should do the dishes, or maybe I should empty the dishwasher. Maybe I should take out the trash. Instead, I don't. I hold them accountable because I know that is things that they need to learn as they grow up. As humans, that's what because we're not perfect. There's nobody that's perfect. So that's great. But you're like, love is kind of weird. You know, Hernani, you're talking about love, and you're talking about accountability. Like, how does those two go? You know, the immature manager will say, I can't talk about love. There's just no way, because they're thinking love is like romantic. Yeah, it could go in that direction. We are not talking about that type of love. That will get you in trouble. That will get you in HR. What we're talking about is the love of helping other people, the love of humanity, hospitality. I mean, if we had a chance to go around, there's things that you totally love to do. So that's the love we're talking about, that thing that is greater than yourself. So what are those things? Even in your organization, what do you truly love? So I shared that story with you. The store that was going to shut down, they hated customers walking through. I don't like to use the 4-letter word hate, but they did not like customers walking through the door. They were like, because they're wasting their time, they're not going to buy. Once we changed that, and like, they're walking in the door because they've got a problem, and it's our job to help them fall in love with sleep again. What are some things that we can do? And that's where the customer started feeling it. They started buying and investing with us.
Hernani,
So you got a question?
actually, are you able to, Jennifer made a comment. She indicated like she's kind of in the same boat that I was, and like, worked for the family company, but she said, I'm not doing as well with my employees, but this is helping. Jennifer, did you want to elaborate on? I don't know if, are you able to let her speak? Because
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it feels like, can
Please
you
do.
put her, you'll
I'm a
have to
big
put her
fan.
to the host because you're the host.
Oh.
Can you see Jennifer name? Jennifer, do you want to speak? Like, it's up to you, because maybe it'll make it easier to kind of come up with ideas. Because I mean, he was talking about like he had an obstacle, obviously. Can you see her name in the list?
Yep.
And can you elevate her? Hi, Jennifer. All right, I'm going to be quiet. I'll let you speak so then you can get some of this liquid gold from him.
I love this off the cuff. It's like, here we go. So I actually I've been having a hard time balancing between the way I was taught to run a company, which was very much a pyramid. My mother was at the top. I had to work my way from the bottom to the middle. And then once I gained that competency that all of you were discussing, then I got to the top. And I mean, she was impossible to have retire. My husband and I made a joke that if we had known all we had to do is change the password to QuickBooks, like that could have happened a lot earlier. But I had that tough love. Like, I wasn't given the company, I bought the company. And my customers, I inherited some of my customers over my company's 53 years old. I've been working for it and now own it I've owned it for the last 7, and I worked for it for about 30. And so one of the things then, what I tried to do is I tried very much to have a different sort of structure in the company, which wasn't as much of a hierarchical structure. And I realized that I was having a hard time. I was empowering people, but I was also not necessarily doing the best job with their accountability, because I always have a buck stop here mentality with my customers, which works very well on the customer facing side, but accountability on the staffing side has been a problem. And I'm trying to figure out still to this day the best way to empower the staff to make decisions and have the company philosophy in mind. I mean, I did our motto, I have our credo on the wall, but I do need to work on the accountability side. I'm not quick to fire.
Yeah.
I hire out of instinct, but I don't fire out of instinct. I fire out of like, my back's against the wall. And that's something I know I need to change.
Yeah. It's great. I love that self-reflection, Jennifer. I could tell you're an amazing leader, and congratulations on your business for that's awesome. Half a century. It's very, very common. And that's what happens. The way you used to do business many years ago isn't the same way we do business today. There's so much more new technology, different things, and people are just grown up differently. I'm working with people now, some young leaders, which this one threw me a loop because of what happened Saturday, 9/11. I'm working with some leaders now that weren't alive when 9/11 happened, those things like that. So it's like, you could just see how it progresses and changes. So a great example, Jennifer, what I would say is it sounds like to me, you could be like the person, the answer person. They come to you for answers all the time. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, very much so.
Good. And when you do that, what happens to Jennifer? She's not here, or she's going to take a vacation. It seems like you're always working 24/7. What you need to do is really empower them. And when they come to you and go, Jennifer, how would you handle this? And like, well, tell me, what would you do if you were Jennifer? And I kind of like, what would you do if you're her nanny? I would do this. And I'm like, okay, how about consider this? So start asking more questions. Stay away from questions that are why. Like, why'd you do that? Because when you hear why, it's like defense. I got to save myself. But stay away from why. And I learned that doing that with my daughter. She's 16. I go, why did you do that? My daughter freaks out. We get into a big blowout. But once I started doing like, honey, can you tell me more how you came up with that? So use more of that. Like, tell me more. How did that happen? Okay. What are some things you want to do? All right. What would you do if it was Jennifer? And then just kind of start getting them. And then when they come close to what you would do, give them a high five and say, you got this. I trust you. And start doing more of that. And then hopefully they will. And be okay with them screwing up. They're going to make screw ups. And I know if we had a chance to talk to you, there's probably some screw ups you made, but you learn from them. And that's what they are. They're successful screw ups. So I'm a big fan of, it's actually, I put it in the book, Successful Screw Ups. It means be okay to fail small, debrief, learn from it, and let's do it again. So I'll share another story. Hopefully that answers it. Jennifer, did I give you a couple little nuggets?
Thank you.
Awesome. But also with your team is get a chance to maybe the next time you're with them and go, okay, I would like to become a better leader. What can I do more for you? And then just pause, listen. I would like to become a better leader. What can I do less of? Pause, listen. And then what's cool about that exercise is they're going to see you doing it. You're going to get this feedback. But what's cool is they're going to come to you and go, what can I do more, Jennifer, to become a better leader? What can I do? You know, that's where you get a chance to give them some feedback. So
I might be too great. Michael Scott for that.
I'll try. Again? Oh, say that again. I didn't hear you.
I might be too Michael Scott for that from The Office, but I'll try.
I know. No, it's gonna. It's
saying gonna, too, because sometimes you just want it when, especially with with government contracts, and then people get all in their feelings, and they're just like, you know, what more can I do for you? And I'm like, just do your job. Just like. I don't understand. Like, why do I gotta, I mean, obviously you want to engage and you want to be there for your employees, but it is a two-way street. Like, I know a lot of times that I see like, you know, managers that are, you know, killing themselves to get this done, but people are still just constantly wanting more and more and more, but it needs to be on both sides of it. You know, I'm not saying that not all employees, I mean, I know my team like will give it me their all, but I know when I used to work on contracts that some people it's like, well, what are you doing to inspire them? I'm like, they're getting a paycheck. Wait, I don't understand. Like, but I guess that's like, you know, probably I'm not in the greatest mood today, so you probably don't want to listen to me. But what do you do when it's just constantly, no matter what you do, you just get in an endless cycle where they want more? Yeah,
that's where you got to reflect with the personal accountability. That's the carrot and the stick mentality. There's probably something that might have happened there where we keep giving them carrots. And they're working less and we keep giving them carrots for that, where we need to sometimes have to evaluate because everybody's slightly different on how they handle that. But you really want to win their hearts. Do you know them? Employees want to make sure they're working for a company of purpose and purpose stands for why does this business exist beyond profits? What are you doing to make society or everything better? So it's normally a one question, like a one sentence. So for example, I'll give you a company I was working with. One of their purposes, improving lives, one relationship at a time. That's it. And you're like, well, that's kind of, there's nothing there. It's not sexy. That's very sexy because improving lives, one relationship at a time starts internally. How are you helping that person, which is the other department and so forth? How are you improving their life? And then externally, your external clients. And then you look at your values. Well, how do we act? How should we do that? Love can be a value. Some organizations I work with will normally pick love as a value. They'll pick family. We got to work as a family. We have to have a high degree level of trust. Those are some big ones that kind of come up. Collaboration could be another, but it's normally 3 to 5 core values of how we should act. So hopefully we gave you some good little things there. I will keep moving here. I wanted to share this with you because I know we talk about love, and sometimes I deal with managers like, there's no way I'm ever bringing up love. There's just no way, Hernani. Just doesn't work for me. Like, you might want to really embrace this, because even someone like Warren Buffett says, the incredible thing about love is that you can't get rid of it. If you try to give it away, you end up with twice as much. But if you try to hold on to it, it disappears. And the more love you give your team, the more you're going to give back. And that is what's so crucial. And Warren Buffett does that when he looks at companies. Should I invest in them or not? He knows that, yeah, he looks at the P&L. You could tell if a company's profitable or it's going to be later on. But he knows that love is what helps companies survive, because all companies will go through a downturn. And if the team truly loves each other like a strong work family, they're going to be able to execute and get through that situation much stronger than if a company's dysfunctioned, if they're just working for a paycheck. Because the reason we go to work, yeah, we're working for a paycheck, but we can get a paycheck anywhere. So are you really truly enjoying what your purpose is, of why you're doing what you're doing? So those are just some things that you want to look for long-term. That's where you create some of that loyalty. As we kind of had a moment here, is who's had a significant influence in your life and why? We kind of answered that, which was great. This was the one I was thinking about for Jennifer too. I know it was coming up, but I wanted to share with you, is taking the hit. This is, I'm a big 49er fan, love football. This is Steve Young. Some of you may know who he is. He's in the High School Football Hall of Fame. I didn't even know they had a High School Football Hall of Fame, but they do. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He's in the Professional Hall of Fame. He started after Joe Montana, and you've heard of that quarterback. Well, Steve Young was unbelievable in the way he handled accountability, because in his career, he threw 202 interceptions. 202. So those are some pretty big screw ups. This is when you throw the ball to the other team. Now they have it, and now your defense got to come back on the field. So can you imagine in your career, if you did 202 mistakes, what would happen? Probably get fired. All right. You probably wouldn't be working in that organization. The way he handled it was so unique. Most quarterbacks, when they throw the interception, they sometimes will blame the receiver for not running the right route. They'll blame they're getting too much pressure, something, or the coach made the wrong call. It's just, they go into this blame, and no one really likes getting into excuses. What Steve Young did is he took the hit. He would go, that was my bad. Even if the receiver ran the wrong route, even if it was the wrong call, or if he got pressure, he would just say, I'm sorry, I screwed up, take the hit. He would walk directly to the coach. Most people, when they throw an interception, they walk away from the coach because they know they're going to get scolded. He would walk straight to Bill Walsh, which was the coach. He would get an earful. He would listen to what he could have done differently. He then goes and gets water, and he goes and talks to his team and goes, sorry guys, I totally screwed up. You know, what should I do differently next time? He would actually ask his team, and he would get feedback. Some of them would go, sorry, Steve, I screwed up. I let that guy go up, or I ran the wrong route. They take accountability for their actions. And many times they would come back on the field and run the exact same play they threw the interception on. You're like, that doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does, because that's how you learn. You learn from your mistakes, and they learned what they did last time didn't work. And now they would run the same play again. They would be pointed north, and they would execute and get some amazing results. So here's one I'd like you to kind of just think about, because we're talking about excuses. That's like the worst thing on the planet. Does your team know they should not give you excuses? Perhaps you provide excuses. But what are some excuses at work that you've heard? You can put it in the chat if you'd like. What are some things there? I see some stuff here where I gave a lot of carrots. That was Jennifer. I'm just catching up on my chat, and they expect it. They appreciate it, right? Yeah, that's a great point.
Excuses. Well, I mean, obviously I wouldn't say it's reality. I mean, a lot of us have kids, and we're juggling a lot, and it's life becomes I know my excuse yesterday when I did a stupid mistake and accidentally sent out the wrong attachment is because I was running out the door because I had to get my daughter to dance. And it's, you know, trying to juggle a lot of stuff that we don't slow down. And I have horrible time management and I'm extremely unorganized. So I like to say, if I got organized, I would have nothing to complain about. So, but I guess, I mean, from that perspective, I mean, does that count as an excuse or does that count as a justification, or dance mom is a profession? Yeah, I'm not that great at it. I'm just putting that out there. She did get there, but was not properly dressed and didn't even have her hair up. You know, I'm the one why they have a 10-page contract, because I violate like 8 pages of it. Sorry.
There might be some things, once you start digging into it, are there things that are energy vampires where they're sucking up your time? And there might be things that could be that we go back to that we can remove to allow you more time to get some of the other things there that we could look into.
What?
Does that make sense?
Energy vampires.
Chrissy's over here giving commentary. She jumped in from the other room going, energy vampires. See, you're pulling people from other rooms. This is how
look at that. That's
are.
Great. Energy vampires. I actually have a little slot where we have a part here. We're going to talk about energy vampires. Well, we have them. They're people that suck up your time. There's probably, once I say energy vampires, you probably had 2 or 3 people pop up in your mind, or processes.
There's a couple emails from this morning.
Oh, go ahead.
So there's a few emails from this morning that I probably responded to a little bit more harshly than I should have. Yeah. Well, actually, no, I probably should have been harsher.
Because they're energy vampires.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
But great feedback there. But yeah, you'll hear things. Sometimes I'll hear like, I didn't know what I needed to do, or I wasn't trained on that, you know, excuses like that, where they'll start using more and more, or they show up late all the time. Traffic.
Do that. Again. I can't stand that, where if you don't tell them exactly, well, you didn't tell me to do that, and be like, I didn't realize I had to tell you that before you went through the door, you had to open it. Like, I apologize. Like, obviously, but yeah, sometimes you just get that where it's like, use some common sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had to train you on common sense, but apparently I missed that.
Shirley said, not my job.
Shirley said, not my job.
Ooh.
Then you got another one that says blaming training while not learning from their experiences. So the people, know, that's a good one.
You got to take the hit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna share something with you here that will help you, one, eliminate any excuses you ever come up with again. Because sometimes I've been caught up, even though I know what I'm going to share here with you, and I've learned that sometimes if I come up with an excuse, my team, it just magnifies that. They will start using excuses. But it's what I learned from Garrett Mathias. And you're like, Garrett Mathias, yeah, this is Garrett right here. He's an unbelievable human being. He has hero mentality. He does not use excuses, nor does he ever gossip. Garrett Mathias, right here, 5 years old. Tell you the story about Garrett. Garrett, unfortunately, was born with cancer. It was cancer that was created in the womb. He was born with it. He was in St. Jude's Hospital, and he spent most of his time there. He went to, unfortunately, a lot of funerals for people of his kids, friends that he was there with. And he told his parents, I don't want to have a funeral for my death. He had terminal cancer. He knew it. And he goes, I don't want to have a funeral. I don't want the funerals where people are sad and no one's happy. I want to have a funeral that has 5 bounce houses, because he was 5 years old. He wanted Batman and Wonder Woman there. He wanted fireworks. He wanted people to be happy. He wanted cotton candy. This is Garrett. He took his life into his control here. And I'm going to share a video from his parents. I have 2 kids. And every time I see this video, I can't believe I would ever be able to, one, be on video after my child has died. And you're going to see his parents here, mom and dad, of the story about Garrett Mathias at his funeral.
Garrett wanted snow cones. Garrett wanted 5 bounce houses because he's 5 years old. And we're going to have Batman here sometime soon. And he loves fire trucks. And we got a police car here as well.
Although these are Garrett-specific requests, We definitely thought about what we wanted to, and my husband and I had a conversation and kind of took a cue from Garrett when he said, you know, funerals are sad, and we both looked at each other and said, you know, I really don't want to stand in a church or a funeral home for hours on end shaking people's hands and hugging people and having them say they're sorry, and so this seemed to be a much better way to go.
Garrett had rhabdomyosarcoma, the embryonal type, which means when he was in the womb, there was a cellular change and it became cancer that way.
No child should have to go through cancer, the treatments, the hell that cancer puts, you know, Garrett through, as well as, you know, families and friends. So it was really important for us to get the message out there that, you know, Garrett died of cancer. He was 5 years old, and that should not happen.
This is what Garrett wanted. Garrett had said numerous times he did not like funerals. They're sad. Why would you be sad all the time? Let's be happy.
You know, I hope people really enjoy and see that funerals don't have to be sad, that they can be a true celebration of life.
Kids are going to come that used to know him, and new kids as well. They're going to find out, hey, this kid named Garrett passed away from cancer. Cancer's bad. And he's going to get everything that he wanted in celebration. So tonight, hopefully, when I'm shooting off those fireworks for everyone, I'm going to wave up this guy and say, how you doing, buddy? I hope you see this. And he's going to look down and say, you got it right for a change.
That was his dad laughing. You got it right for a change. I just can't believe, but that's the power of not having excuses. He knew what his fate was, and him as a hero created his own obituary, what he wanted to do and celebrate with that for his life, his young life. He was taken way too soon. Garrett, just to show you the type of person he is, you can buy this. It's the book that's Dirty Stupid Cancer, because he wants to help other kids that are going through a situation like that, under knowing that it's not their fault, things that they can do within their control. And it's just an amazing story about Garrett. I'm going to read with you here, kind of towards the end of what he has. So that's the story of Dirty Stupid Cancer, told by a 5-year-old boy. No matter the outcome, cancer won't win. To a heart filled with love and joy. The illness will never define us in spite of what others may see. Be strong and fight hard like Garrett, for we are who we choose to be. For we are who we choose to be. You control it. No one else controls you. You control it. So emotions and different things that come up, you control. People can't make you feel the way you do. Sometimes we just make ourselves feel that way. And one of the biggest things that really gets in the way, it's called ego. Ego. We feel like we have to, our ego's getting hurt. So when our ego gets in the way, we really have to show off and we have to come up with these excuses or different things. No, just, you know what you need to do that's right. Reflect, go back to find out what happened, what caused it, and then debrief, learn from it, just like Steve Young did from his screw up from throwing the interception. Get feedback from other people, because there's always a solution to the problem, and then go out and do it again, but don't create the same exact problem. And that's Garrett. It's such a great book. So it is something that he put together, and what he did, and his memory still lives on. So think about with your group. So let's just say meeting with, and that's what I do when I meet with teams and we start talking about excuses that they hear from work and different things. And then we get those all laid out. And we're like, okay, are we done with this? Sometimes we'll burn it right there. No more excuses from the team. We need to take action and be responsible. And that's where you get people pointed north. What sometimes happens is when an owner or a CEO or an executive tries to do all that, the team feels like, oh, I'm in trouble, what it is. And that's where sometimes you need to have someone that's kind of outside the team can really help bring the team together for that. But what do you love most about your job? What do you truly love? So think about that. What do you truly love about your job? Sometimes we do it all the time. We're like, oh, I don't love anything about my job, because you forgot, but there was something there at one point you truly loved. What do you love there? Anybody would like to share? Put in the chat, or feel free to communicate and share that with me here.
I know my favorite job, my favorite part is getting to know the companies and hearing what impact they have. Jennifer says she loves her customers and helping people. honestly, like I was so glad that we finally had a live conference because, you know, not being able to be connected with the companies, and because I'm a very personal, like I like to connect with individuals. And you know, because it's been really draining for me lately, but like that kind of like re-energized me and reminded me, you know, this is why you're fighting so hard, because when these companies succeed, like they just do so many wonderful things. And honestly, like that was so sad with that little boy. I'm like happy and sad at the same time, but I'm totally buying that book. But like,
No, please do.
yeah, Jennifer said, anybody else have to want to cue in? Honestly, I feel like this conversation today is exactly what I needed. So
Awesome.
thank you. Because it has been a
Absolutely.
bad day and I'm already feeling better. So I appreciate it.
Good. But that's what, yeah, that's what sometimes happens. I know you've been dealing with, I mean, putting these shows together, especially doing one show for one day, that's a lot of work, but you're doing it for the entire month. And just look at how many more lives and businesses you're helping. And even though you're helping that one business, now let's look at how many people are that one business helping. So you might be helping millions and millions of people. That's improving lives, one relationship at a time. So
to just let you guys know too, so we did our pitch competition at the live conference, and one of the companies that pitched, I got like multiple requests from buyers saying like, hey, who was that person again? And I think it's going to be extremely lucrative for them. So that's the reason why we were trying to do the pitch competition, is to provide different environments that individuals can really highlight their skill sets, because we get to the point with like capability statements and stuff that it's just, we're going through the motions. It's a dog and pony show, and that it's not really standing out. But, you know, I'm really happy to hear that that did make an impact and that it was being noticed. And I have a feeling that that company is probably going to lead to some pretty significant awards, because I mean, I got a call from the HubZone program going, hey, I really want to send this out. And Jennifer, I'm glad that you're joining the pitch competition. Yes, I did extend it until Friday. So I encourage anyone, definitely do it, because I mean, it's free PR. And that's the reason why we're creating an Airtable too, so that we can send it out to like the other government agencies so they can distribute to their, you know, program offices and things like that. But I'm going to be quiet now. And now I'm very like concerned about supplying this recording, because I feel like I've just been way too personal on this call. Like, but I love this. Hernani, you're now stuck with me. You're going to be my emotional support
awesome.
person.
You're being very transparent. No, that's huge. And that's what leaders want. They want that. And when you have that, I'm pretty sure if I went, like, how do you guys feel about Michelle right now? I'm pretty sure they're going to say, I love Michelle. I mean, I can't believe she's sharing all this stuff. So you'll see that stronger connection. Tell me more about the pitch. I think I missed that. How could other people get involved with that?
I've always felt strongly about creating different environments, because everybody thrives in different settings. Some people are great with the one-on-one. Some people are great with like, you know, being able to do the virtual. Me, like I'm not great with virtual. I love being in person. But with the pitch competition, we did a live event and individuals got up in front of everybody at the conference. And actually, thanks to AstraZeneca, like we were able to do like grand prizes. So we already wrote a check for $1,000. So we are going to have another award winner with the virtual. So there's two components. The winner, we're going to do like a live stream on the 23rd where we're going to show off the videos, and our winners will be announced and they'll go home with $1,000. But we also have a Public's Choice Award where if people are sharing it on social media, that they could win $500 as well. But the whole point of it is to be able to really help, you know, get rid of the stigma that the HubZone program has had. Like you constantly hear, oh, we can't find good HubZone companies, or they're not out there, or they're not responding to this. And like, we all know it's crap. So, you know, this is a way for us in a fun way to be like, listen, look what this company is doing. And look how creative they are. So then they can easily share it instead of like sending just a paper capability statement. So fingers crossed, it's going to have a positive effect, not only with, you know, letting somebody go home with a check for $1,000, but also, you know, really articulate the capacity and the like the capabilities of the HubZone portfolio and how diverse it truly is. So that is the goal. And
That's
give
awesome.
people a
Thank
bunch
you
of free PR.
That's awesome. No, good. That gives you an opportunity to talk about it. Plus, they don't want to just hear from me all the time. So this is good. And look, I'm looking here at the chat. I hear Jennifer says she loves you. That's powerful. Kathy is saying Michelle is the best. She is the most helpful person I ever met. Look at that. See,
Well, thank you guys. I
you are
love you
truly
too.
loved.
Mhm.
This is the first time I'm working with you, and I love you for it. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
Yes, because you're now officially stuck with me.
That's great. Love
So
to hear
I will
that.
be quiet so you can keep going because I am very much enjoying this presentation.
Awesome. Well, performance. This is where we get into, okay, so we just went through positive accountability, catching people doing things right, really magnifying that. So if we were really in live, in person, I would take everybody through it, but I'll give you some high level. When I screwed up as her Nazi, I wasn't very good at catching people doing things right. What I was really good at was catching people doing things wrong. And what happens when you catch people doing things wrong all the time? Well, you think business gets better. No, you magnify that. It scares the heck out of people. And then they don't want to go outside their comfort zone. And all of a sudden you become the answer person. They're scared to do anything because they're going to get in trouble all the time. So when you magnify something, it becomes bigger and bigger, bigger. But if you can flip the script and now start magnifying the positives, that's where the magic starts to take off. People, that's where it becomes viral in a good way, where they really want to do more sales or meet more with customers or make people happier or get better reviews, whatever that is. And I'll share the story that helped me understand that. As you can see, I love stories. Is Well Done, W-H-A-L-E, Done. It's a book by Ken Blanchard. That book was one of the very first books I normally recommend leaders to go through because it talks about positive reinforcement, catching people doing things right. And the way it works is they talk about how to train a killer whale. A killer whale, how do you train that? You know, a mammal that's so huge like that, that's wild. And the way they do that, of course, it's in the tank, they bring it, but they can't just jump in the water with it. What they do with the killer whale, when it goes over the rope, it gets rewarded, it gets positive praise. And then there might be a sound or a whistle or something that they start coordinating with this, when it goes over, you're going to get this clap or exciting, you're going to get these sardines, whatever it's going to give the killer whale. Eventually, that rope starts coming up out of the water, and the killer whale knows that based on this action, I need to jump over that rope. And I get over it. When I do that, I get positive praise. But when it goes under the rope, nothing really happens. It doesn't get that reinforcement. And that's where you're able to get these whales, these killer whales, to be able to do these amazing tricks and different things. Dolphins, it's the exact same way. Other animals, and that's also the same way when it works with humans. But the more you magnify the positives, that's where you become a gotcha manager, catching people doing things right versus always catching people doing things wrong. So that's positive accountability. Performance-based, you're like, okay, we got a lot of love. Now we're positive. You're like, okay, that's great. But there are just some people that are just a pain to work with. Yes. And you got to have performance. And performance is what you permit, you promote. Have you been allowing something to happen over and over and over? That's what's going on. So, for example, excuses. Is it one that there might be a certain amount of employees or employee that you work with that always comes to you and they always give you excuses? Have you told them that's an excuse? Have you called them out on it? Have you given them some tough love and shared with them, you keep giving me excuses. What can you do next time to make sure this happens? That's the performance where you start measuring it. And so many organizations, they get a little like, I don't know, I think I'm going to lose people. As soon as I bring out performance, they're going to quit. They're going to go work somewhere else. It's so hard to find people right now. Yeah, it is. It is going to be hard to find people. But once you find people and you really start bringing them and you start creating that culture of love, who doesn't want to work for you? Those are the people you want, not the ones that are currently unemployed. Currently unemployed means a lot of other people have given up on them. You want people that are currently working in an organization that isn't liking it and they want to come work for an organization that has a tremendous amount of love. But you've got to be able to perform it and measure it. And that's where I like visible scoreboards, where you actually put in there whatever we're doing as a team, where are we at, how are we ranked. They could break it down by individual. And I actually put a red line right down the middle. Okay, are you above the red line? Are you below the red line? You're like, wow, that's pretty harsh. No, it's true. That's what professional environments do. Look at when you go to a football game. You can walk in, you know how much time's left in the clock, you know who's winning, who's doing what. You go to a baseball game, all the information there. That is a professional establishment when you can come into and see a visible scoreboard of where people rank. And you're like, wow, I'm going to lose all my bottom people. No, that's what most people think they're going to lose. But if you work with your bottom people, not to bring them up to the top, that's where many leaders go wrong, is they like, my bottom performers need to be top performers. No, that's where you're screwing that up. What you need to do, my bottom performers need to come up to the average. That's all. So once you bring them up to the average and you keep doing that, guess what? It's a smaller, so it's a little bit more bite size for them to be able to take it. And then also you keep improving the average. It just keeps getting better and better if you keep doing that. But if someone's always below the average, you've coached them, you've helped them, they still aren't getting it, and you've given them a lot of love, it is probably time for them to move on and go somewhere else. That is where you got to give them some tough love, where you need to let them go. But you can only do that when you've truly spent some time with them, found out what their challenges are. It could be something that they're having externally, giving them some information, getting them to write something out that says, this is the 3 things I'm going to work on, and then actually holding them accountable to that. So that's what you permit, you promote. My best example here is I've worked with, I normally would get multiple different people from different departments. And this always kind of seems to happen. I would get someone and they would show up to a meeting late. And you were like, I could yell at them, like, you keep showing up to a meeting late. But here's what I've learned is that maybe the previous leader allowed them to be late. So if they allowed them to be late, now they're working with me, I don't allow that to be late. And I'm like, I would just say, hey, I haven't shared with you, but my meetings start normally about 10 minutes before we actually, if it's 10 o'clock, I'd like you to be here by 9:50. That's being on time. Now we have a chance to kind of mingle with the group. You can get your drinks. So by the time 10 o'clock starts, we can start the meeting. So that is showing up on time for me, not 10 o'clock. It's 10 minutes early. I could yell at someone, but I haven't had a chance to really teach them what they need to do. So that's called the show me step, where you show them what is expected, have them reiterate, okay, so what time do you need to show up meeting? I need to show up 10 minutes early. Perfect. High five, done. And then now they're aligned and they know what they need to get done and do. If not, if they just keep showing up late, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to get upset. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So what do you think so far? I mean, one word. I'd love to get one word from this group. What's the one word? How do you feel about balanced accountability? I just gave you some really high level stuff here to go through so you get a chance to take it in. But what do you think of the 3 Ps? What do you think of balanced accountability? What's that one word? You could put it in the chat. Love to hear it. Learned?
I'm not sure the one word. Mine is more so like I'm my own worst enemy, but that's a lot more than one word. So I'm just trying to figure that out. Internalized, I guess.
Say that again.
Internalized or like processing. More or less.
Yeah. Capability.
Yeah. Because I know.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect. I see.
You're all just telling him how awesome he is. I thought it was supposed to be a question about how we felt about what he was saying. Did I say it wrong? Am I doing it wrong already?
No, you're right on. It's how do you feel about balanced accountability?
See, really, but apparently everybody feels awesome about you. To learn. Excellent. So apparently everyone's enjoying this.
Great. I promised about energy vampires. How do we address energy vampires? These are the ones that just suck up your energy. They've been working with you for a long time. It could be ones that I've worked with. They're number 2 in charge. They've been there since day 1, but something happened that they're just super negative. You just can't get anything done. And what you permit, you promote. So you continue to allow that energy vampire to continue doing that. So this is how you handle an energy vampire. You show them some tough love. So I'm just going to role play here, but I'm going to use Michelle's name. Let's just say she was the energy vampire. As you can see, she's not. She's more of an energy giver than a vampire, but we're just role playing here. So I'd go to Michelle if she was an energy vampire. I would go, Michelle, is it okay for me to give you some tough love?
Yes.
And I would pause. It's right, real easy. So I just said tough love, right? And then she agreed, and I would probably shake. Then I would bring her. It'd be private, and I would sit somewhere. You don't want to sit right across from each other because it feels like it's very compatible. But you can kind of sit side to side, and you would have your form there. And like, I want to share with you 3 things that have happened here recently where you're sucking the energy out of the team. You're not sucking my energy, it's sucking the team. And people don't want to let their teams down. And then I would give them fact 1, fact 2, fact 3, and then I would pause. And the reason you want to give them facts is because facts, you can't debate them. If I throw my opinion in there, now we got a debate, now we got drama, and that's what we're trying to avoid here. So I'm going to give you fact 1, this happened, this date, this happened, or this meeting, this happened, or you did this. Second one, very specific again. And the third one, very specific. And then I pause and see what they say. Most of the time, they'll kind of like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. That's what I tend to get over 90% of the time. The other ones are like, no, that's blown way out of proportion. You know, the real super negative vampire. I'm like, can I give you one more fact here of when you're an energy vampire? So I always have the fourth one. And the fourth one's kind of like, here's the fourth, like, here it is again. And I would share the fact with them and pause. And that's normally when they like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I feel so bad. I'm so embarrassed. They just start taking the hit. And that's what you're looking for, that energy vampire. If he takes the hit, or she takes the hit, now you can work with that, because that's what you want, that personal accountability. And now, okay, so what are some things that we can do to help prevent that? And that's what a leader does. It's like, I can come up with all the things, but I want them to come up with things. I want them to tell me, because when they tell me, they have ownership. And when they have ownership, now I can hold them accountable to that. And I hear what it is. But I can tell you, if you do the fourth fact, and they still want to debate with you, and it's still everybody's fault, at that point, suspend them and move on. You don't need that person on your organization. They're holding you back because they just aren't getting it. So if you truly do it that way, it's such a rare situation that I've had when it gets to the fourth, but sometimes it does happen. You got to give them some tough love and get them out of the organization. I personally, in my history, I normally regret keeping somebody on for too long. I've worked with that person. I tried to get him, and I just, another chance or something. And then it's way too long. It sucked up my energy, and it was time for them to move on. So you may have that, but first try to work with them, try to get them back on track. And then if that doesn't work, you do. Sometimes you got to cut your losses. They're going to become hopefully happier working somewhere else, because they just truly, something happened within your organization. They don't want to work there anymore or be a part of. And life's too short to be stuck doing that all the time. So the best way to predict the future is to go out and create it. So that's my favorite quote. We control our destiny. And many times, so many people are focused on like, I got to win the lottery ticket before I take action. Stop dreaming and start doing. Go out there and get it done. Because I personally don't know of a person that's won the lottery ticket that's made more than $1 million, something that could maybe change your life. I don't know anyone, but I know so many entrepreneurs that have worked hard. They've had some setbacks that are extremely successful now because they took action. They learned from it. So Richard Branson, I'll give him. Richard Branson is the creator of Virgin lines, and he's got a Virgin Brands, Virgin Records, all those different brands. So he was labeled the dumbest kid in school. Yeah, it's Richard Branson. He was labeled because he had dyslexia, where he couldn't take some stuff off. He didn't really go to college. He was always against that. But he has his brand, Virgin, is over $30 billion in sales. And the other key thing is he has 10 other companies doing north of $1 billion. He's the one that just went up to space. He doesn't know how to fly a plane. He doesn't know how to get up to space, but he knows how to surround himself with great people, treat them well, make them all successful. And that's what happens where it really starts to take off. So you've just gone through this transformation. And this transformation kind of, when you look at Mother Nature, for example, a caterpillar can only travel less than 3/4 of a mile before it transforms into this beautiful butterfly that can migrate over 3,500 miles. So I know I shared some stuff today that might be challenging for you. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can get through all this. Love, not sure. I don't know if I can have that hard conversation with my energy vampire. So that's where it really comes down to. You predict the future. So it's time to go out and create it. And there's going to be a little learning curve. You're going to go through, you got to plant the seeds. You got to give it some love, some water. You're going to make some mistakes, but that's where you start getting the balanced accountability, where you start to take off. The team really starts to gel. and you start to win hearts to maximize performance. So if you like, I can get you, I have a playbook, peer-to-peer accountability. What do I do when I work with organizations? I've got a 10-step here. I can get that to you if I could share it with you and I show you. So if you'd like, you can text it. That is my cell number, 916-717-3299. Yes, that's my cell number. It's my California. That's where the 916, I always get the area code, but feel free, I'll send it to you. And then if you'd like, you can get the book. The book is sold anywhere. It's even sold at Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Target. It's in Audible format. I know some of you love that. So let's stay in touch. You know, we can look up on LinkedIn. So here it's open. I wanted to open this up to where you can have some questions. So feel free to open it up.
Anybody want to, last minute tidbits? I know I'm downloading it on Audible because, well, apparently I do need that in my life. Does anybody have any other comments? They got some great presentations. Everybody's just telling you how awesome you are, but I'm pretty sure you already knew that. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
But I really do appreciate you joining today. I can come back on camera. I apologize. Honestly, I think that this is exactly what I needed at this given time. I guess fate was, right there. And I'm really looking forward to the opportunity of working with you more. And I'm so excited I got to participate in this presentation. And, I will let you get back to your life. I think if we don't have any more questions from anybody, but just as a reminder, Hernani, you are set up in the virtual event platform. So it's a possibility after this presentation, you might be getting some requests from individuals. So if you have any issues or you don't know how to work that system, let me know. Because I do have a feeling you're probably going to get some follow-up. Oh, I do have a question here. How do I ask my manager to treat me better? I always feel under pressure.
Yeah, that's great. So I would love to hear more, if they can, how are they treating this person? Is it
okay? Do you want to put her as a speaker so she can speak instead of have to type it?
Yeah, let me do that. Perfect.
All right. Is she got elevated?
Yep, she got elevated. She's there. If you like, you could write in the chat if you prefer that method, or you can unmute and just share with me. I'd love to hear a little bit more detail. If you could tell me more about that situation.
Call out your name, but I really can't say it. TMARINAK. If you want, I'm assuming that's do you want to talk, or did we just call you out and now you're like, oh no, oops. Sorry, I can't talk. Okay. Do you want to message to give an example about what they're doing or what the situation is? Because obviously we don't want to give you bad advice and then get you thrown under the bus.
Yeah. So I'll just give you some things that, because this situation has come up quite a bit. Sometimes I work with CEOs and they're like, no one likes me. They're always rude to me and so forth. And I always have to reflect, let's look back. Is there something that you might be doing yourself personally that could be doing that? For example, I was a Nazi. So my staff was not liking working with me. So I was an energy vampire. I was one of those people. And I'm glad Matt, my district manager, that I'm still friends to this day, said, Hernani, you're a Nazi. People don't want to work with you. He gave me that tough love. He gave me the facts and I was able to change it. So I would say here is we just take the hit first. What I like to do in this situation would be, it's called kind of bringing them into the room. I want to give you I'd like to get some feedback on my leadership. I just attended this balanced accountability workshop. So I'd like to get some feedback, and it's called the 360 review, where I get feedback from my peers. So how can I become a better leader for you? What are things that I can do more of? And then pause. And what can I do less of? Sometimes you'll scare your people. They're like, oh my gosh, I got to respond to my leader. I don't know, I don't feel comfortable, or they're just going to fire me as soon as I get some information. So what you may want to do instead, if you feel your team is going to have some fear, is we just put up a post or a big flip chart that says more of. We do another flip chart that says less of, and we do another flip chart that says love. So 3 flip charts. So that's more of, less of, and love. And then we put out these Post-its and we give them instructions. I need a captain. I need somebody to be the captain for more of. I need somebody to be the captain for less of, and someone to be the captain of love. And now what we're going to do is we want you to write on a Post-it one thought and one idea of how I could become a better leader. What can I do more of? What can I do less of? And what do you currently love that I do as a leader for you? So those are like 3 tough questions, right? You're like, oh, this seems simple, but you leave the room for about 30 minutes. You've got your 3 captains that'll kind of help put it together. And then the captains are, can you just tell me, like, because there's some people are throwing some dirt. You're just looking for the common theme, the top 3 things. So hopefully that's a quick little work. It takes about 30 to 60 minutes, but what's most important that I tell the leader, the CEO that I'm working with, don't go in there and say like be combative to where you're like, what are you talking about? There's no way I don't do that. I did it that one time. You just get very combative. Once you do that, you've lost their respect. Just take notes. Your team wants to see you take notes. And then I would ask, okay, what are the top 3 things that you're going to do more of, less of, and what do they love about you? And then now for the next 90 days, show them proof. For me, my team told me I micromanaged them. I was on top of them all the time. I was so negative. So I go, okay, so I'm going to be less negative. I'm going to be not micromanaging as much. And then I would show them the proof. So I'm like, hey, you guys told me to be less negative. Here. So I give them some positive. You asked me not to micromanage, so I'm not going to micromanage this situation. I trust you guys. I would use that. And that starts showing them proof. And once you start showing them proof, that's where you win their hearts. And then guess what? They come to you and they go, what can I do more of? What can I do less of? And that's where the magic starts happening, is when they start coming to you. But first, you got to take the hit. You've got to go in front of them. So hopefully that answered your question there. And that's a great question. Thank you. See if there's another message.
I was letting them know that like I can clip out certain things because I feel like we talked about a lot of personal stuff and people might be concerned about being more engaging given the fact that like it's being recorded. So I'm saying that I will watch this stuff and maybe be able to see if I can clip it out, because we do have his presentation that can be hosted, but I realized like when you want people to be engaging, then you have to think about, okay, what am I being said and how can it come back to bite me in the butt? Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that, like, I won't post anything like that. And if I can't clip the stuff out, because let's get real, I said some stuff on here too.
And I do have where I can help your team within like an hour fall in love with accountability and take them through that. I do 3-hour workshops or do a full day workshop or stay with organizations for up to 6 months. So there's a lot of options. So if you want to, if there's something that's personal directly for your organization,
send that to me, because I would love to send it out to our member network and things like that, because I do think that this would be very beneficial for a lot of organizations from a team building exercise. Because a lot of times now that everybody's separated, it's hard to figure out how can we connect again and, bring it back in and make this new normal. So absolutely. I honestly did not realize what this whole presentation was about. But I'm just so glad that I was a part of it. So really, I'm definitely going to be downloading this on Audible, because it was a lot more impactful than I anticipated.
Excellent.
I mean, that's kind of sounds mean, but like, I didn't really know what I was getting into first. So yeah, you're an amazing speaker, very, very charismatic. And I look forward to hopefully doing a lot more presentations with you in the future.
Absolutely. Would love to.
So.
Thank you, Michelle, for the feedback. And thank you everybody for being a part of this. Always by your side. So I'm always here.
Sweet. That is awesome. Yeah. In sunny California. So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and end it. I will try to see if we can clip or maybe just be able to do the slides, because yeah, it was great. And thank you so much for allowing people to be so engaging and, open with this discussion. It's great. Absolutely. So when you're ready, go ahead and press end and we're good to go.
Thanks, Michelle. Loved all your feedback. Till next time.